All right, these last two videos are going to focus on the structure of a policy memo. So far we have an issue, we have an idea on how to solve it, and who's going to solve it. Now let's construct an argument as to why. That's what a policy memo is. It's just an argument. It is a proposal as to why we should do this. It has these sections. It has a title, it has a thesis, it has an issue background, it has talking points, and a policy idea, policy analysis, key facts, and next steps. We'll delve into each of these individually. So, skipping over title and policy thesis for the moment, an issue background outlines the introduction of the problem and the potential, not the exact, but the potential for a solution. So it should talk about why this issue exists. It talks about the causes and effects of the issue and who are impacted by it and why we need policy change now. So referring back to the research we've done so far, when I talked about homelessness in Denver, I obviously need that data about how many homeless individuals or families exist in Denver when I write this. I need the causes and impacts of homelessness, or maybe with teenage pregnancy, the impacts teenage pregnancy has on a young girl. Or, I mean, all we want to present in the issue background is that this is a problem and here's why. That's basically the issue background. The policy thesis is a thesis statement. It is 1 to 2 sentences that summarizes the problem and the solution. So it should introduce the problem briefly, it should provide a brief description of your policy solution, and it should identify the key stakeholder that you're after. This is why we did all the previous work, because we're writing this. So here's some examples. Colorado's General Assembly should authorize the establishment of a pre-populated personal tax return system for simple returns to reduce the state's cost of processing returns, improve accuracy, and create a straightforward service for Colorado taxpayers. Colorado's General Assembly, key stakeholder, a pre-populated personal tax return. That's the policy solution. And then the latter half, you can implicitly, more or less, assume that there are problems from that. This is not my preferred way to do it, but you can say, here are the impacts of the policy, here's why we should do it. And you can say, obviously based on this, if it improves accuracy, it must mean that the current system doesn't have as accurate tax returns. Or, Nigeria has struggled to effectively deal with the terror group Boko Haram, which has been a significant destabilizing force in the north of the country. Nigeria should develop paved roads in the north, providing services to civilians in that region, and a strategic advantage to the Nigerian military. The first sentence introduces the problem. Nigeria, key actor, should develop paved roads. There's the policy. And then the latter half actually expands a bit on some of the benefits. This is the policy, here's why we should do it. That's the policy thesis, is brief introduction of the problem, here is what we should do, and here's who's going to do it. Then we have talking points. Talking points provide the 3 to 4 key messages of your campaign for anyone that would like to advocate for your idea. So they're bullets, basically, and they are the core arguments both in support of your policy and why your issue is important to deal with. So it's kind of twofold. Most likely, again, you'll have 3 to 4. You can split them roughly evenly. These are just like key messages. Something to think about is that your policy thesis here is your elevator pitch for your policy. Your talking points are the bullet points that like back it up. So if you could tell someone nothing except your policy thesis, they should still be somewhat convinced by your policy thesis, okay? So this is your foot in the door, and here are your core arguments in support of it. They don't have to be data-based at all. So an example, a pre-populated tax return benefits both taxpayers and state governments by reducing compliance burdens and cutting overall costs. That's a talking point. Infrastructure development can aid counterterrorism efforts in a sustained way by helping to address underlying systemic issues in terror recruitment. That's a talking point. Okay? Think of them as ways to bolster your thesis. That's the point of a talking point. So, something to keep in mind about these policy memos is that it is an argument. You're constructing an argument. So your thesis introduces the problem, the solution to it, and why. Your issue background clearly convinces someone that this is a problem and this needs to be dealt with now. And your talking points are the key arguments in support of your policy. As we continue down the policy memo, don't lose sight of this. It should all flow together. Even if you're writing it in distinct sections, all the components of the policy memo should flow together. It should not be just like distinct little sections. It should be one cogent and coherent argument in favor of change. That's the point of the policy memo. Again, it's a proposal for change, and it should clearly convince your key stakeholder that you identified that we need to do this.